Hello everybody and welcome back to another new video on the channel. Today we're talking about the newest episode of Boruto, which is Boruto episode 83. And exactly what I thought was going to happen happens in this episode. And it's mainly towards about Onoki and his plans with the Aquata and Lord Ku and what he plans to do with the Aquata and why he broke like this whole like peace treaty that had with all the great nations and multiple different lands and different villages and stuff. And the episode then kind of just explains it in the episode. And ultimately, it was something that I wasn't sure was going to be a thing, but it certainly was. But it does target something that most of us have been thinking about over the course of like the past couple weeks, or rather, last couple months or a year or so. And as a lot of us already know, Boruto and the rest of the cast, even as simple, just lower ranked genin, they seem pretty strong, right? The Akuta in the episode were explained by Anoki was that they were made in order to protect those who are weak inside of the village, and multiple different villages, depending on how this would have turned out if it had continued on much longer than what is going on currently. And they're basically just supposed to protect those who either don't want to become shinobi, because in this age of peace with the youth, some of them are choosing not to want to become ninja anymore, because for the simple fact that the world is full of peace, and that's pretty much it. But a lot of us have been struggling and complaining with like the whole lack of proper power scaling. Like, why are Leaf Jonin getting taken out like so easily by the Akuta, but yet we have characters like Boruto and Sarada and even like Inojin who are able to take care of these guys pretty easily and like on their own, and they're supposed to be Genin, and these guys are Jonin, and they're not really seeming to do too well. And it's the simple fact that Anoki tackles the whole point of the Age of Shinobi as we know it now, and over the course of all the villages over time, and both the youth who are becoming into Genin and those who are Chunin and even Jonin are becoming much weaker than what it was during the Fourth Shinobi World War. And a lot of us could already see that, and that's why a lot of us complained about the whole power scaling and how we thought it was inconsistent, it didn't make any sense. And they kind of say it in the episode, and that the writers are pretty well aware of this, and that's kind of like the whole point of this series as a whole to begin with, because the beginning part of the first episode back over a year ago was tackling the fact that Kawaki was saying that the Age of Shinobi is over, and maybe he's talking about the Age of Shinobi, how it currently is over, because now there are no longer to be any ninja who are as weak as they currently are. But I said last week that he was probably going to tackle like the whole thing about his grandson, being dead, and he's going to like, want to bring him back to life. And that could still totally be like a possibility. Like, if we're being all honest, especially after with the previews that we got for this week, that could totally still be a whole possibility. And I don't want to doubt that it's not going to, that's not going to happen, because it very well could. But now I'm starting to doubt that that's actually the case because of what Anoki had explained in the episode. And the whole reason why he was doing this was because in the episode, in the world 5 years ago, the Hidden Stone Village was attacked by a group of rogue ninja, and they had killed a whole bunch of youthful, like young kids who were either training to become ninja or they were already a genin. And of course, that really devastated those of the village, but more importantly himself, because I guess he thought that because the world was full of peace, something like that wouldn't happen, but it went ahead and did anyways. So he's starting to create the Akuta, and the Akuta are supposed to be there. They're supposed to be really strong, and they're supposed to be able to protect them. When some of that's not really the case, because some of these guys are popping up nowadays, they seem really fucking strong regardless. So it's like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. I'm a little mixed on this episode because Onoki very much sees that the world of us as human beings. He sees that all of us are very precious, and life is precious. And I was talking about that a couple episodes ago with the little baby Akuta, the Akun. That's what Inojin had named him, and how Inojin's basically teaching him that life is precious and that you need to respect those who are either living or who have already passed on, and that's why we dig them a grave. And that that was already kind of showing that the Akuta have their own free will and they have emotions. They have teased that before in the past, so it almost seems like Inoki's being a really big hypocrite because he's seeing those who are created artificially and not, organically, like us, humanoids, us of this planet and this world. He sees those who are artificially created as something entirely different and that they have, no meaning. And it almost seems like Inoki's basically just kind of being a hypocrite with what he's trying to do, whilst putting those who have life and have free will and who can think for themselves in the front lines of something that they probably don't even want to do, but he doesn't realize that. And that's kind of deep. That's kind of deep for a show of this stature, especially because it is Boruto. It is a little more, I would say, more like the kid-friendly side. I guess, but it has been really deep. And if you look into it, there is a lot of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but there's a lot more to some episodes than you give credit for if you look deep into it enough. But the episode continues. We see Lord Ku, he's there, and this guy is a little ridiculous because he has like this flying like Bokujutsu technique, but it's not the Bokujutsu technique, and it's only known by those of the Kage, so most likely he did learn that from Inoki. But not only does he know that, this asshole fucking knows particle style or dust release or particle release, whatever you want to call it. This guy knows particle release, and I think that's a little something that I don't know if that should be a thing. Like, this guy's already seems pretty fast. He already knows like this like kind of Bokujutsu looking thing, and that's already like kind of strong because Naruto, whenever he was able to use Bokujutsu after gaining the powers of the Sage of Six Paths, he was able to levitate or fly, and that's really powerful. It really is. And so I don't know. So we see a couple other stuff with some other scenes with Sakie and Mitsuki, and they're really trying to anticipate that Sakie is going to die eventually, and I wouldn't be against it because they had like the whole episode where Sakie asked Mitsuki if he's ever cried before, and I think because they're having these episodes where Sakie and Mitsuki are bonding together, that they're going to have Sakie die and Mitsuki might actually cry for the very first time, and because obviously that's not going to happen until like Boruto dies, and who knows whenever he's gonna eventually die. We see Shigadai actually get captured in the episode, and he meets up with Kurosuchi, and Kurosuchi, she's coming up with a plan to get out of the situation, and they explain what happened. And Kurosuchi is actually the one who explains that 5 years ago, not only did that whole attack of the Rogue Ninja against the Stone Village happened, but he's actually been planning this stuff for over 5 years at this point. The Aquata, he originally created them 5 years prior and has been trying to create more and control them and create more of a perfect Aquata being that he can either control better or just simply be able to recreate human life as it sees fit. Because you could make the argument that Lord Ku could potentially be an Aquata, because Sakie and the others, of his like little like group, they're Aquata as well. They were artificially created, but Sakie, he didn't know, how to use detonating clay and explosion style or explosion release without without being able to learn it himself or having it as a Kekkei Genkai. So obviously they had to implement it into his DNA in order for him to actually be able to use it in the first place. So you could make the argument that Lord Ku is an Akuta as well, but more of a perfect Akuta. But that's a little bit of a contradictory, because if they had already made a perfect Akuta with Lord Ku, why couldn't they do the same thing with the others? And why would they then have to get Mitsuki? Because there's a couple other stuff as well that I could talk about, and maybe I'll talk about it in like a different video, kind of explaining, or not really explaining, but talking about like what Lord Ku can actually even be in the first place. Like maybe he's human, but he's just like really fucking strong, and he learned a lot from Onoki because Onoki, you know, has the Keketoda of particle release, and now this Ku guy knows it as well. Did he learn that from Onoki, or is he an Akuta and that was implemented into his DNA? It's very interesting. So the episode continues on. It finally ends. Everyone's kind of scattered around. Boruto actually saved Onoki because Onoki was about to get like crushed by a pillar, and now they're kind of all scattered away. Sugadai got captured by the enemy team, and the next episode is kind of hinting that like, Q is gonna start like a coup d'état. I guess you could call it a coup d'état against Onoki, and I think that's going to happen. I think Q is gonna betray like Onoki for what he's actually trying to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if that actually happens because I feel it's going to happen regardless. But I guess that's kind of it. The episode was only really okay, and it kind of just goes back to like the whole like pacing issue where sometimes it's really fast and then it gets like really slow, and now it's like really slow now, and it's just like I wish this arc kind of finished already. Like it's interesting, enough. It has my attention, and it's much better than anything else that we've gotten. Besides like the besides Momoshiki Otsutsuki, all that stuff. But yeah, the episode was okay. It was fun to watch for stuff that did happen. The action was kind of enjoyable because Akatsuchi actually used a rock golem, and that looked really cool. And we got to see particle release from Ku, and that kind of shows that his feats can potentially be like really high. He can be very powerful potentially, but I don't know. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the video. I think I took enough time out of your hands regardless. So go check out my other videos if you haven't already. There'll be a card on the screen, and at the end of the video, well, actually, at the end of the video, we'll have my previous video, but there will be a card on the screen that will take you to my previous review of the last episode for Boruto. And if you're curious as to what I thought about the episode or that episode, you go ahead and watch it. So, anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, be sure to leave a like. If you aren't new, subscribe for more videos just like this. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a fantastic day. I'm out. Peace.